Add you to the stage, add myself to the stage. Did we do it? Yeah, we're live. We did it. We figured it out. We figured it out. Okay. Let me make sure. Let me get off of this. Okay, now let me make sure that y'all can hear me. You know what? It wouldn't be technology without technical difficulties. So
Listen, every time.
we have a tech. We have a technical difficulties. Okay, so that's the link to that. Let me copy that, and then let me just add it to my bio on TikTok. That way people can like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just want people to be able to find it because then they'll know where to go while we're here. Unless I go live on TikTok, I could just go live on TikTok and just, you know what I
Either
mean?
way.
Um,
Is it gonna
I
echo?
appreciate the patience. Are
No, it
you
shouldn't.
echoing?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you're saying if I'm on live? No, I don't. I don't think it'll echo. Um, what's really interesting is like all of a sudden I can't change my bio on TikTok, so now I got to do it from my phone. But that's okay. We ball. We ball. I appreciate everybody being patient. I did put on TikTok that we would go live at 6:15, so that gives us a smidgen of wiggle room, and it gives also people time to like hop in the chat. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, see, I can edit my bio on my phone. I can't edit it on. That's weird. That's so strange. Okay, we're not gonna argue about how life works. We're just gonna let it rock. Okay. And then for people that are here already, I think Palmyra might be here. Um, for people that are here, the link is now officially in my bio. Great. Yes, it's
Mm.
officially in my bio, so people can see it and they can, um, share with their friends and whatnot. And so what I'll do now is go live on TikTok to draw traffic here, and we can get started.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this party started. Turn off my Bluetooth. So
Sorry, I'm just trying to sign into my YouTube account.
no problem. No problem.
Connect it to the comments.
Narcissistic. Leave it to narcissistic to be a word that is so overwhelming to spell, just like living with
Complicated.
narcissistic parents. It's just so stupid. Okay. Now I'm gonna go live here on TikTok, and I'm just gonna let it rock because TBH, like it is what it is. Shout out to Cassidy. Uh-oh. And I have a whole phone holder that I could be using, but I choose to be difficult, so just whatever. All
It's
right.
all good. You making it happen.
We making it happen, okay? Done is better than perfect. Let me get my water. All
Why I
right, I
feel
got
like
my
I look
water.
like grandma right now? Like my eyes, I feel like you know how grandma's eyes do that thing now? Like the older she gets, the more they start
She
doing
got them
this.
sweet eyes. Her eyes be so
Right.
sweet.
They're so
Like, why your
sweet.
eyes so sweet? They're
It's
just so
very like
sweet.
Native American eyes because she's
I
Native
love it.
American. But you know what I'm saying? Like the little, I don't,
Yeah, the little eyes.
I never really
Go
got to
on
do this.
YouTube. The link is in my bio. If you want to hear the conversation between both me and my sister, the link is in my bio. Click the link in my bio to watch the live conversation between myself and V. I'm gonna try to add you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
see if I can invite you.
all my emotional support drinks to this conversation.
Yeah, you got to do it.
We've
You
got
got to do it.
coffee, latte,
Yes,
latte,
latte, because you fancy. Because you're
latte.
fancy. That's the thing.
And
A
then, of
latte.
course, we've got sweet Georgia.
You gotta have your sweet Georgia. You good? Sunshine, can you open the door? Thank you, baby. We're a multi-family live streaming family over here. So click the link in my bio to see the live conversation between myself and V about narcissistic
Yes,
parents.
we're
And
going
let's
live
hop
and
into
spilling
it.
all the tea about our family because of one thing. that every generation does not do is profit from the trauma.
Hello. Hello. And that's the problem is y'all didn't have no coin attached to it.
There was
Y'all didn't
never
have no
any
coin
coin.
attached to the narcissistic
There was never
abuse.
any coin.
And so it just
I
made it
think
what it
I
was.
think
Click the link in
Stymie
my
was the
bio.
closest. Stymie
Yeah.
theory.
Well, see,
Because
that was compounding trauma also. Because it was
they
not
made
only the
him
trauma from the
enslaved.
family, but they literally called him stupid. That is unfortunate as hell. Uh, so yeah,
But
click the
he
link in my
profited
bio to see the
from that.
conversation between myself and my sister. It's on YouTube right now. So if you want to see the conversation between both of us, we're live streaming on YouTube right now. Um,
That's a good question though, because like how much money would you take for somebody to call you stupid, especially during the Great Depression when
at
you got
least two commas. Oh, during the Great Depression, I need at least one comma, but I would love two. But
I
after
don't know if he got
seeing,
a comma, but I'm just
no,
saying
no, no, he
there's
definitely didn't
definitely
get a
a price
comma.
on calling me stupid. Just for
Yeah,
anyone,
yeah,
you can't do it for free though. It's
can't do
gonna
it for free.
cost you.
Yeah, a price will be paid,
Either you're paying in money or
or I'm getting it back one way or another. We're discussing narcissistic parents on YouTube. I'm only keeping this up so y'all know to click the link in my bio to go to the YouTube live stream. Click the link in my bio to go to the YouTube live stream.
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
I guess it's probably best for us to start. I know I said we was gonna go live at 6:15, but
Let's just
why
jump
not?
in
We ball. Let's jump into it.
because you
So
can rewatch it later, right?
yeah, they can always rewatch it. Yep. So okay,
That
there was a video where someone's asking, um, what is the weirdest tantrum that your narcissistic parent has ever thrown? And there were hundreds of thousands, millions, and trillions of just weird tantrums, right? And so the
mhm,
story that I told was, to me, one of the smaller of the stories. It was just
um,
the first thing that came to mind. It
mhm,
wasn't one of the worst situations. It wasn't the worst. It was just one of the weirdest,
mhm,
where it was like, what is wrong with you kind of
mhm,
thing.
mhm,
Go to YouTube, y'all. Go to YouTube to see the conversation between myself and my sister.
mhm.
It wasn't the worst. It was just the weirdest. And it was the first one that came to mind. And it always will remain one of the weirdest because I remember being like, why did you do why did you do that?
You know
So
what's
let me make a
funny?
disclaimer. Huh?
It's
Huh?
like you just real quick, you telling that story, I always feel like I was there, but I know that I wasn't.
Right.
It
Right.
always feels like I'm there.
Yeah. And that's because you know him well enough to know that that is very possible for who he was. So it's like, because of narcissistic parents, they are not predictable people. But if you lived with our narcissistic parents, the behavior was predictable enough for you to be like, I wasn't there, but I can 1,000% see
Yeah,
that,
I can
feel
feel it.
that, and know what
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can feel it. And so, but the disclaimer for me is, if y'all ever see me laughing, this is not me laughing at my trauma because I haven't worked through it. It is that I have worked through it so much. It is ridiculous for this man to have behaved this way, these people to have behaved this way. And so I just find I remember thinking at that moment, like, what the hell? What's wrong with you? Why would you do something like
That's
I'm
some
only
bad
laughing because it is so utterly ridiculous and
absolutely
outrageous.
the case. And like honestly, so Damon, for those of you guys who don't know, that's my husband. He hadn't heard the story, right?
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
He didn't know what story you had told him. He didn't see the video. So I'm telling him this, and right before I get on the live, we took a shot, and he was like, "This is to you and your sister healing," because he knows like
Oh.
how crazy it is,
Yeah.
and how like absolute like petty is the minimum, but pettiness is
Bear.
definitely in there because it was
Yeah.
just that. And honestly, to have abusive, insert mental illness here, parents, that's really the ultimate thing is it's a part of that control dynamic to be
Yeah.
overly petty towards your child because you know your child can't do shit about it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's
They knew that. They knew
and
that.
they loved it. But what also was interesting was when I told him that mom just walked over you and kind of looked because she would love it.
Yeah.
She loved it. She ate that shit up like such a like a. that's what you get kind of thing.
Yes.
That for me always grinds my gears. And honestly, for any of y'all listening, I am a huge, huge advocate for cussing your parents out.
Yes.
1000%.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, I
that
agree.
really irritates the super elders, like the just under the boomers and above. Oh, that grinds their gears.
They can't believe it.
Y'all can meet me in the collard greens aisle. I'll meet you there, and y'all can each have a round. I promise you. I've been doing cardio.
Literally.
But
Yeah.
that really grinds their gears when you say you want to defend yourself against the pettiness. And that's what always
Yeah.
made, I've literally meet your mother in the front yard to this day.
To this day. To this day.
Just
Because
for
for
that
me, I'm a
alone.
firm advocate in cussing your parents out, cuss them
Please,
out. I believe that
please.
rage is necessary.
It
That's one
is.
of my
It's a
favorite
part
things
of
to tell people that are
healing. And
healing
people
through.
try to skip
Yeah.
it.
They try to skip
Mhm.
over the rage part because so when you're navigating narcissistic parents, you have been stifled out of your natural emotions and the way
Mhm.
that you are like the way that you personally naturally react to things. And when you cannot live fully and thoroughly, one of the reactions that a body, the human body, can have, because this may not happen to everybody, but I don't believe it's not happening to everybody.
Rage
One
is
of the
annoying.
reactions that the body can have is rage. And if you do not allow yourself to feel rage, you will always avoid like what I imagine is the threshold of processing what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I allowed myself to feel rage and be enraged. I didn't act on it. I needed to feel it because what feeling it made me do is realize how exhausting rage is,
Mm-hmm.
how much
Mm-hmm.
energy I was burning so
Mm-hmm.
that I don't actually have to go there. I know what there looks and feels like for me that I don't have to go there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it also allowed me to heal. I was enraged for so long because the younger me did not get to be enraged about being physically,
Absolutely.
emotionally, verbally, financially
Mm-hmm.
abused. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like being assaulted physically, being verbally assaulted, being emotionally haunted in that house. Like
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get a chance to like feel those feelings for real because then it
Mm-hmm.
turned in what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Fix your face.
And
Fix your face.
isn't that the theme of Black households?
The theme of
You are
all black
not
households. Right.
you are not allowed. And granted, like we can also assume that other cultures have some version of this from what we're able to see on social media, but we can only talk about our Black household. That's all I got.
Right.
I've
Right.
seen glimpses of other households from other cultures of friends, but I can only really attest to my own.
Right.
And that is a common theme, especially as we talk about it online, is that the Black household was never a safe space for feelings and still
It was never. It
and that's
was never.
why the elders have such backlash now. What you mean? Oh, you're airing out our dirty laundry, and oh, you feel this way about that. And I did the best I could. There's no manual on
That's the part
parenting.
that comment right there. I did the best I could. No, you didn't. Because I have seen your friend talk out the side of her neck and you didn't haul off and punch her in the mouth or in the stomach. You got friends to this day that went to the grave owing you money and you didn't swing and throw them into a wall, but you over here throwing kids into the wall. You didn't do your best,
Yep,
actually, babe. You
yep,
did your worst. Believe it or not, you did your worst.
yep,
You
yep,
did
yep.
your worst.
It's always revenge. Somebody said, but they can tell our business and will.
And do.
Will constantly. So they can get out on the streets and tell everything about us. But as a child, you have no rights in a Black household.
No,
You are no
no.
better. And we know this historically in context to parenting is that the way we were brought up in Black households is akin to how we were treated on slave field. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
on property as slaves. Like
Yep.
the way we beat our kids, the way we talk to our kids, the way we do not listen to them. We do not care about
Belittle them and belittle them and
you. What I
humiliate them
said.
is the word that comes to mind. The
Yeah,
humiliation is
constantly,
very rooted. It very much has roots in
constantly.
slave time. So
Yeah.
it definitely like to go out of your way to make your child feel like nothing. And
Mhm.
then I
Yep.
don't because I can't speak to every black household because I didn't live in all of them, even though we all speak the same language. But
Yep.
to humiliate and belittle your child, and then
Uh-huh.
in the same breath
Uh-huh.
expect them to
Uh-huh.
be above and beyond and incredibly successful and super duper smart and not have anxiety and not be nervous and not
And
be
what we were talking about earlier, grateful.
grateful. Oh God.
Grateful. You have to be
Oh my goodness.
grateful. You
I
have
gotta
to
be
be
grateful.
grateful. You don't get to have any feelings about it
Can't
other
do
than
it.
gratitude. Now, please explain
Can't
to
do
me
it.
how a 5-year-old knows something about gratitude. But that's
How
what.
am I supposed to learn gratitude? You learn to be grateful. From my perspective, I learned gratitude from lack. I was grateful because of my relationship with not having.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
grateful for a home when I was homeless,
Right,
when I was navigating homelessness. I
right,
was grateful for my mental
right,
health when I lost my mind. Like,
right.
what does SZA say? She said, uh, pray to the Most High for protection over my most prized possession, talking about my sanity.
Mm.
My most prized possession is my mental health, it's my mind.
Hmm.
I am so grateful to have my mind
Hmm.
because there was a time where being in here was the scariest place. So I would
Hmm.
resort to going anywhere.
Hmm.
Pray,
Outside the body.
I
Yeah.
literally prayed to be taken off this planet. I wanted to be
Hmm.
deleted so bad
Hmm.
because of how scary it was. All those memories. I was just talking to my bestie like an hour or two ago about the way that I present our trauma or my
Hmm.
trauma. And I
Hmm.
present it in this way because I had to get out of here. And the
Hmm.
only way I could get out of here was to make room. And the only way I could make room was to tell the stories. And I had to hear how awful they were.
Hmm.
And then I had to feel the feelings all over again so
Hmm.
that I can go, okay, I am no longer there. There's no bear in the room anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
It's
how many Black people are getting that?
yeah, yeah. And how many are allowing themselves? I think there's an interesting perspective on approaching and addressing trauma. And again, I'm going to keep saying the Black community because I cannot speak to other communities. I am saying
Period.
Black community because that is the community I am addressing. It does not mean it's exclusive to us.
Right.
Specifically in the sense of how we address our trauma and how so many people will claim to be healed and oh, I'm over that and that doesn't affect me. And you need to,
Girl,
y'all need to just get over it because you know your parent, like, and especially your peers who do not understand what it means to go into that dark room where all the ghouls and
hello.
are
Come on
and
now.
them to fight them with your whole life and say, get out. I
Drag them
you will
out.
vanish, but you got to face them first, right? They don't know
Yeah.
what it's like, but even more so, what I find interesting too, because I love just to study people for anybody who knows me, um, is that it's still showing up in your personality.
A thousand percent. That's what they be missing. And this, you know who does this the worst in our community? The waist beat girlies. The
Girl,
spiritual, the spirit, the
girl, them be the
spiritual waist
main
beat
ones.
girlies
Them be the
will
main
literally
ones. You get them
they be the
talking, and they
and
will
they
crack like a nut, and all that will just start falling out. You'd be like, "Girl, I just met you at the coffee shop." Like,
you remember, okay, I have to tell the story
you
because
can't
this is
play
when
with
I
him.
knew this is when I knew I
Sorry,
was not tripping, right? So there was a spiritual girly that someone referred us to. I know
Mhm.
you
I
remember who
know
she is. I
exactly what
can't
you're talking about.
right. So
And
there's a
she's big
spiritual
right
girly.
now. She's
Right. Oh, is
huge.
she? Oh,
She's
I
huge.
blocked her everywhere. Okay. I wouldn't
She'll
know because
pop up in
baby
somebody else's stories, and I'll be like, "There she go."
blocked, blocked, babe. So this spiritual
It
girly,
comes from a weird place, and I don't know when somebody going. You need to edit this one part. I don't know when people are going to realize that a lot of these gurus that y'all love and y'all follow, and you're like, oh my god, they saying the perfect thing. That is a narcissistic tendency as well. They are unhealed people. They
period,
know how to say the right
period,
things to you to get you
period,
going, to get you co-signing.
period.
Isn't some stuff coming out about y'all fave Jay Shetty and that he was never a monk? And that he lied the whole time. There are a lot of these people. Y'all have to be careful with
Come
the
on
messages
now.
that you're receiving, the people y'all are following and listening to. Y'all want to put
Well,
everybody up into stardom, and y'all don't do no research about if they really are the people who they are and where the
well,
source
peep
is
this.
coming from.
Peep this though. The reason why, and we're having this conversation as survivors of narcissistic parents, right? Living in a narcissistic household. The reason why people do that, where they put these people on pedestals and they throw them into an astronomical kind of like realm in their perspective, is because of the narcissistic abuse,
Correct.
because of
Correct.
always wanting someone to save you. And there's nothing wrong with having been a child and wanting to be saved. Like, I was a very small child, really wanting to be picked up in a grocery store, but they wasn't kidnapping fat Black kids back then, so I wasn't. They wouldn't pick me up
They
at the
grab
boys'
two
market.
light ones and run.
I
Okay,
was,
they don't grab
they
the
want the
thick
small
ones,
ones.
the
They didn't
rusty
want the
ones.
thick. You know what I
The
mean? I was a
rusty,
thick
you
little
gotta
light
hold
skinned
with
something
two
that they,
hands.
the boys' market wasn't picking up fat kids like that. So but when you're a young person with surviving narcissistic parents, you want someone to save you. And
Yeah.
when you don't heal through that, then
Mm-hmm.
you come into experiencing adult people who
Mm-hmm.
you think are saying the right
Mm-hmm.
things and you
Mm-hmm.
want them to save you. And so this person, this guru, this spiritual girly that I'm referring to, I was going through a time where my sister was grieving. I was in a different form of grief. And I was also starting my Saturn's return. And at the start of your Saturn's return, you are being forced to address all of the tests, all the tests that you had back in your early 20s. They pop up at 27. They pop up at 27
Mm-hmm.
and they be real loud, right? And so, in navigating all of those tests, I thought the best answer would be to get some kind of like spiritual guidance, right? So, this
Mm-hmm.
person, she read both my sister and my astrological charts. And these spiritual girlies, much like a narcissist, they want to be in you. They want to be in your shit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she read the charts and like I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever. But the more that time is going on, I think I might have had 3 sessions with her. The second session, I was like, something doesn't sound right. She
Yeah.
kept referring to her own literally baby daddy drama, which I thought was weird because I don't have kids. Like I have a stepchild, but I at the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially, had no real relationship with anyone to be talking baby daddy drama. So I'm like, this is
Mm-hmm.
odd. This feels, I remember saying to myself when we got off that call, that felt unhealed. But I myself wasn't even in the landscape of healing. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought maybe I just didn't know any better and I need to like let the process be the process. The final
Mm-hmm.
straw for me, I had like a I was having an emotional thing. I was going through something and I didn't have the answers. I didn't know how to emotionally regulate. I thought I was going through spiritual warfare. So I
Mm-hmm.
reached out and she says on this call, mind you, I'm on my last leg. I'm ready to press control alt delete on life. Okay.
Right.
She
Right.
says, oh, that's what you're upset about? Girl, there are people that are starving in other countries who would love to be in your situation. And I remember being like, if she'd have said that to me in my face,
Oh
this would have
yeah.
been a different kind of conversation. So I was like, okay, well, thank you so much. And I just got off the phone, and that was my last time ever talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
made me block her was when she was posting about 5G making our kids gay.
Girl.
Now, girl, what are you talking about? I
Girl.
must have blocked her and everybody who responded to that because I was like, oh, you're
Girl.
just not smart. You over
It
here with your waist beads and your locks and your winged eyeliner, and you over here think you the mother of all mothers,
it
baby. You
happens
are
every
broken.
day. It happens every day because so many people would rather pretend to be healed and pretend like they got it all together and then wonder why they're having a midlife crisis at 25,
42.
at 37,
Don't
again at
rush your
43.
healing.
They wonder, this one is actually my favorite, that they pretend to have it together, but life is in constant disarray. And I'm not just talking about life, because you know what I'm talking about. Life be
I
life.
do. I
Having the
do.
guys,
I
the treasure
do.
goes out, something you get laid off from you. Like things happen in life. These are life things. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm talking about, oh, so and so is suing me because they said I stole their business plan, and baby daddy is uh, doing like
I
nuts.
can't believe they towed my car because I had 19 parking tickets.
Literally,
When it's like,
I was under the influence driving without a seatbelt with the passenger door open, and the cop had the nerve.
and the cop had the nerve to put me in a drunk tank. Like I'm
Can
an
you believe?
alcoholic.
And then I had to pay all this money for, like, wait a
And
minute,
it'd be
these
like,
are
you
things
did
are
that
your
to
fault.
yourself.
You know he fired me for being drunk for the third time at work operating heavy machinery. I was
You ran
drunk on
you ran
tilt.
off with somebody's money. You played in somebody's head when you said you could do hair. You played in that girl's head, and you mad her mama, her sister, and all her cousins is in your front yard trying to get her $120 back.
Right,
What?
right. Things that are clearly your fault, that you are not taking accountability for because you're not healed. And honestly, those are symptoms of, and I don't know what the technical way of this is, but we know what this means is where you are so used to narcissistic tendency. I'm gonna just put it that way. You're so used to narcissistic tendency that you become your own
Yes.
version of a narcissist. It's
Yes.
heavier in the victimhood side. You
Yes.
lean heavier in the like the, oh, everybody hates me. Oh, what is
Yep.
this happening to me? Like that kind of
Yep.
thing. But there's still the lack of accountability. There's still the abuse, but you're really subtle about the way you abuse people. You're
Yes.
very, very subtle about it. It's never like directly violent. Like you're never like, "Bleh," like how some narcissists are. You're
Which
very,
was an argument that
very
was happening in my comments where people were
right.
like, that's not narcissism, that's abuse. When it's like, it's a spectrum, babe.
It
You got the
is.
narcissists that are
It
very covert,
is.
who know who to prey on. And then you have narcissists that
Mhm,
are
mhm,
outrageous.
mhm, mhm.
How you gonna be mad that I was raised with an outrageous narcissist? I didn't make him.
And our father being the worst, because we're gonna get to some tea about our family. Y'all gonna get more
I was
tea.
gonna say, you gotta share a story. They have to
Yeah,
hear one of
I'm
your
gonna share a
stories.
story in just a minute, but
Go
I
to
want to say that
YouTube.
our father came from a long line of
Yeah.
narcissistic men.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there is actually, I don't know if we want to go into more of like the background and the whole, like background
I ain't in no rush.
about that.
I'm
Okay,
telling everybody to go to YouTube so they can hear my sister's story. If you want to
okay,
hear
so
both
I'm just
sides,
going to
go to
talk a
YouTube.
little bit about it, and we'll have to go into this more in depth later. But we are descendants of the Tulsa Massacre. And if
Period.
that means anything to anyone, that our ancestor fled with our great grandfather, excuse me, as a baby. He was literally like days old.
A month. He was a month old.
He was a month old when
Uh-huh.
she, a teen mother,
14.
through 14, through rape, got, had to flee with her baby in her arms by herself,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So you think of that level of trauma, multiple trauma that she
Multiple.
endured. Then she eventually came to California and so on and so forth. That is how it started. And to say a word about, because I gotta, if I must spill a little bit of ancestor tea, I gotta say, our great great grandma was a bad mama jamma. We're gonna have to post a picture. She was a bad
She
mama
told that
jamma.
thing. She used to tote that thing.
That bad mama jamma, like the character that what's his face plays in The Harder They Fall. That's who it reminds me of when I think about
Yes.
her. You know
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
try
talking
to find a picture while you're talking.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so to come from that, and she had to be a very hardened woman, and she only had one child, our great grandfather, and he was a very hardened individual most of his life. There are some more stories that we can tell, Great Depression, sex work, so on and so forth. But down the line, the way that was interpreted through our family, especially the patriarchs of the family, is that it was very cold, very hardened, and you guys can understand how that works. You guys probably have
Yep.
men in your family and even women in your family who operate from this space of very deep, deep, deep seated trauma. Now, fast forward on how it got to our dad. Our dad actually grew up when Compton was a suburb. Compton, at one point, for anybody who knows, was a very nice neighborhood. This was a place where all the people with money, they wanted to live in Compton. From that point that they moved there and his parents bought that house,
Mm-hmm.
he grew up in a nice neighborhood, played baseball. Everything was just hunky dory, like Leave It to Beaver, until
Mm-hmm.
junior high
Mm-hmm.
when the mysteriously guns and crack showed up. And that's really talks
Mysteriously.
about it. It mysteriously was literally dropped in gigantic bags throughout his
All through the
neighborhood,
neighborhood.
and
Mm-hmm.
hell broke loose. Now, I say
Mm-hmm.
all of that to say the way that my dad felt that he was dealing with all this trauma, I say dealing from this trauma, and how he felt like he healed was to take it out on the daughters that he wishes were boys,
Yep.
and to
Yep.
put us through as much, because I actually think another thing that was happening for him and for mom was that they were jealous that we were so protected and so sheltered. And so they
Right.
always
Right.
wanted to toughen us up and get us ready for the real world. And that meant physically, mentally, spiritually abusing us any chance
Yeah.
that they got.
Yeah.
God, I have so many stories. Like, I have so many stories. I remember prom. So this is a prime example of our father wanting.
Woo!
So my prom. So all throughout my entire school years, I was always a straight A student. I was always like a great student, never in trouble. Like you, I was the kid you never had to worry about. Oldest grandchild on both sides. So I always was taking care of everybody kids. Like they knew they could trust me. I was very responsible. I was raised that way. I'm the honorary third parent. Who's getting my sister ready for school? Who's making sure her hair is done? Who makes sure she has lunch money? Who makes sure that her homework is done? Because I have to. They literally would tell me, like, you have to do that. So
Yep.
this is what I'm already used to. So fast forward, I'm graduating. I've gotten myself into college. I literally got the money for it. I'm selling CDs. I'm doing hair. I literally braided the hair of everybody on my basketball and softball team to make sure I had money to cover my senior fees for all my activities and everything. They paid nothing. The only thing they
Not
paid
a dime.
was my prom dress. And at the time, they had money. But my mom loved to act like she didn't have any money when it came to me. She did not like spending money on me. I couldn't get my hair done. I couldn't get the clothes that I like. I couldn't really do anything because it was always this like, oh, you don't need all that. And then also, we don't want you to dress nice so you'll be a hoe.
Right. Like that was stop. Like that was stopping it. One broke don't stop no hoe.
Listen, period. Like, sir, you didn't really do anything. You
You
must not
didn't
know
stop
anything
it.
about real. You must not know. And it's in my
You
blood.
must
It's in
not
the
know.
lineage. Go back and look at them. Go back and look at them. My great grandma was
Okay.
stop playing with me.
Okay.
Stop playing
The
with me
hell?
in the shirt. Anyway, so prom comes. My mom only spends $100 on my prom dress. She spends $100 on my prom dress and tells me that, sorry, my baby girl is very upset at me. Y'all hold on for 1 second. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry.
One thing I will tell y'all about her prom though,
Hold
like
on
on
1
top of
second.
all of her senior, do you think? On top of all of her senior activities, she paid. So my sister, if y'all don't know and you're not on YouTube right now, you need to go to YouTube. The link is in my bio, so you can hear the story that my sister is telling about the narcissistic ways in which both of our parents just inflicted lots of like trauma, right? And so my sister had to be
Mhm,
incredibly independent at a very young age. And
mhm,
so when I think from my perspective, when I'm thinking about her prom, right? I'm the little sister. So the only reference I have for what prom is what I've seen on television and also
mhm,
what I saw from my mom's prom picture. From my
mhm.
mom's prom pictures, the whole family's over, everyone's helping her get dressed and they're doing her hair and they're doing her makeup and
It looks
everyone's
like a
there and they're
wedding.
very excited. You said
Yeah,
what? It looked like a
it
wedding.
looks like a wedding.
I used to think that her pictures were wedding pictures also. And so
Mhm.
when it came to my sister's prom, I'm noticing like they're not doing the same
Yeah,
things. Like
they're
something
trying to
seems
shrink
different
it. Yeah, they're my mom did her best to minimize it and my dad didn't help.
at
Normally,
all.
not normally, dad liked to spoil us with the things he liked.
Yes,
Shoes, athletic gear, equipment, things we never asked for and never wanted.
at all. Just like
We had
the
different
story
interests.
about the cell phone. You
Oh my
asked me
God.
what
Like,
phone I wanted. I tell you, and you don't get it. Why'd you even ask me?
why did you ask? And it's because he wants, it was literally to have a reason to fuck with you.
Yes,
And it goes back to that pettiness, the desire to have pettiness to fuck with your kids. He literally just wanted to play with our emotions. And so
yes.
back to the prom story. My mom buys my prom dress. It is on the clearance rack, the last dress I even looked at for $100. And she's like, here, take it, and makes it seem like I'm on punishment. Again, I'm
Yep.
on honor roll. I got myself into college. I'm about to go to
Literally.
Davis. Like, I'm literally doing all the things that I'm supposed to do, but that's what a narcissist does. They make you feel bad and they make you earn their love and make you feel like you did something wrong. So I literally always, like, I think back and would be like, what did I do to deserve that kind of treatment? Like, how did I get
And
to
you
that
make a very good point. You make a very good point. They make you earn their love. Disclaimer: you will never earn it because they do not love themselves. So there
and
is
they don't know
nothing to
it's not
earn.
love. It's literally
It's
just,
not love.
they think love is attention. And let
Yeah.
me also explain that because that's further in my story. So prom is underwhelming. I think some family members came by. I can't remember. I might have got flowers. I can't remember because the whole thing was so underwhelming. I didn't have a car. I ended up just hitching a ride. I went by myself because I just wanted to go by myself. But I ended up hitching a ride with my friend who had a date, and the date's brother drove us around all night. That was pretty much, I did my own hair. My mom doesn't even know crap about makeup to this day. And she just kind of smudged some stuff because I didn't know anything about makeup. She didn't pay to get my makeup done. It was very underwhelming. It was like I was a foster child and she was just throwing me to
Everybody seemed so inconvenienced.
yeah, it was
Like
very much
mom felt
like
so
there were
inconvenienced. Like,
no
oh my
balloons,
God.
no decorations, no nothing, no
Nope.
lights.
No
Same thing
champagne
happened when I
party.
graduated high school and college, by the way. First in my family to graduate college, and you'd have thought that was pregnant with my third child at 16. Which no shade to any woman who is having a child at 16 with their third
Right,
child.
right.
No shade. I'm just saying it is the way they received it was
Was
that
like you had done something wrong and you were always
yeah,
doing something
like
wrong. Like you were like a
I had
bad
set
seed
myself
and
up
they
in
were
some kind of
inconvenienced.
way or whatever, and it
Like even people from jail get a welcome home party. Damn.
right, nothing. So the flip side of that was we have an adopted brother, and our adopt yes, and our hold on
You
one
know what I
second.
mean?
Okay, I'm gonna have to go soon because my boss is calling. But she woke up from her sleep, y'all. Sorry. But to wrap up this story real quick, and I'll let Jay finish telling the rest of this story when I get off. But we have an adopted brother, and he is a few years younger than Jay. And when he went to prom, they rented him a limo, they rented him a tux, they got his hair cut, they had somebody drive him around for the night. There are so many stories about him specifically. Like that was our dad's son. He
Yep,
did so much for him and all the neighborhood boys, more so over the moon beyond what he
yep.
would do for us because our dad is also misogynistic as hell. And that's really hard when you have
Super.
a
Such a misogynist.
misogynistic father. He literally
Yeah.
thinks you're stupid, you're a hoe, you can't do anything right, and you're only there to serve him. And if that's
Yep.
not it, and for me, as
Yep.
Jay has outlined before, he treated me like his wife. And so
Hmm.
because he didn't our mom is his indentured servant. She's his little slave. Like there's nothing, it is what it is. But he would treat me like that and come at me like that, but also be abusive. He would, do all the abusive things, throw me around, grab me by my throat, choke me, like punch me, whatever it was, and I would just have to endure that, right?
Hmm.
But Raul never dealt with any of that.
At
Never,
all.
never. He would give him money. He would
At
take him
all.
wherever. He even pitched him to labels. He never pitched my sister to
Yeah.
labels, even though my
Yeah.
sister was the one actually writing the rhymes, producing the music, doing all the things in the studio, super uber talented. And he
And
dimmed
is.
her light when she was in her teens because he was jealous for one, and also very misogynistic. He did not believe in the power of women, and
Yep.
that will force him till the day that the Lord decides to come and tap on his shoulder.
Speaking of which, God, when are you doing that? What's going
I
on?
mean, it's not a wish now. Don't get it twisted. We're not wishing. We're just curious
I'm
because
not wishing. I'm just a hopeful person.
there's different ways to approach things. There's more than one way to skin an apple. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Okay. Okay.
You are well within your rights to have that hope.
Hello.
Well within your rights. So, I have to go get the baby.
Do
I
your
would love
thing.
to do this again
Yeah.
and tell more stories because I have so many more stories. But I will just leave with this final thought that although a lot of people will try to, and we don't even just have to say narcissistic parents, if you have an abusive parent, you have to really look at what does your spirit, your personality, your life, your outcome lack because of what
Right.
they didn't have the guts to give you and teach you.
Right.
What did they take away from you in your spirit? And a lot of people might say, well, nothing, and I got everything that I need. But there is something in your life that is lacking because of the way your parents decided to not show up.
Right.
And not just that they decided to do it in the past, but that they probably still do that. It's
Yes.
very rare that parents get their act together. It's very rare. I pray that all of them do for the sake of y'all and for us. But
I'm a hopeful
you know,
person.
don't wish on a star about it. Don't wish on a star. Heal yourself, carry on with your life. I appreciate y'all watching. I'm sorry I gotta go. My toddler, she feeling away. And look,
It's all
I'm
good.
trying to be a better parent and show up for her emotionally. She might still put me on trial one day, but guess what? I'm gonna sit there and take it like a G. I'm gonna be like,
Come on now.
I got you. Okay,
Come on
bet.
now, because you showed
What can I
up. You
do
showed
better?
up. Yes, I
That's what I'm
appreciate you
gonna
so much, sis. I love you a lot. Kiss the baby for me. And then I'll call you when
do.
I hop off. I'm going to hang out with y'all for a little bit. and
All
answer
right.
some questions
Good
because
night,
I was ignoring
everybody.
comments. I love you.
Love you.
I'll
Bye.
talk to you later on. Bye, baby. Okay, so I'm gonna kick it with y'all for a little bit. I'm gonna kick it with y'all for a little bit longer. Okay. So my sister just hopped off, so I'm live on TikTok as well. So I'll stay live on both because there are some people here and then there are some people here. So I'll answer questions. So this question that I'm saying says, do you do therapy? Yes, I have been in therapy for 7 years, 6 or 7 years now. I do not play about my therapy. Sidebar. I do not play. I do not miss a day. And if I have to miss a day, like yesterday, I had therapy, but I had to miss it because I had to go to the dentist. I don't miss my dentist appointments and I don't miss therapy. I definitely rescheduled therapy for tomorrow morning. I will not be missing therapy because y'all heard how my father is, right? Yeah. So I have a theory that for every year of trauma that you survived, you need 6 months to a year to recover. I had to live with my parents until I was 17. I'm going to be in therapy for another 10 years, at least, at minimum. The good thing that I will say, though, about my therapy is I no longer have to recover from the past. So a lot of my therapy sessions are not about the past anymore. They are about like the present and being hopeful about my future. I don't really deal with like a lot of stuff. I think that's also why a lot of people who saw the video thought that I was like handling it lightly. I think a lot of people thought that I was like minimizing it or like being dismissive about it. I absolutely wasn't. It happened 20 years ago and I worked through it. So uh like for people who've never been to therapy and for people who are in therapy, I am trying to tell you it gets better. Like you will get out of it if you really do the work. And I know you hear people say do the work, do the work, do the work. You hear it all the time. But if you really like take the time to accept that you might be wrong about something, accept that it's okay to feel something new, accept that it's okay to like reprocess stuff, it won't kill you. You're gonna get to the other side of your trauma. But if some people are like they love being in their victimhood, and I was a victim myself. You heard what my father did. Obviously I was a person who experienced victim, but I also lived in my victimhood, which is why I couldn't get better, which is why I kept repeating certain trials, which is why I was so like down on myself and just was making terrible choices because I lived in my victimhood. I justified my poor choices and just not being a good person because I was a victim. Oh, I am a victim. But when you climb out of your victimhood and you start making better choices for yourself and for your future, you start to feel better. So if you have not been to therapy or if you're in therapy, I promise it does get better. Like if you allow it to get better. So I'm gonna go through some of these comments. I didn't mean to ignore y'all. I just wanted to try to get traffic over to the YouTube. So let me see which ones I missed. Even if y'all aren't here, I at least want to answer them. When you say your sister was placed in the wifey role by your dad, was that on an intimate level? No. And I get that question a lot. I got that question from several therapists, and I've gotten that question a lot. Um, no, my father was not. Let me actually be very careful on how I answer this. My father was not abusive in that way that y'all are thinking, but that doesn't mean that he wouldn't like make comments that would like sexualize situations, like not to make advances, but like we weren't allowed to wear like how I'm wearing this kind of shirt. I couldn't have worn a shirt like this in my house. Neither could my sister because of my dad's perception of girls and women and how like femininity is femininity is naturally sexualized. Like girls and women are like innately in our society sexualized, and so that's how my father would treat us, was that we weren't allowed to be in our femininity. I went live when the whole Monique thing went down, and I was in that live and I was explaining to everyone that my father would be like, oh, he would overly like boy, like make me look like a boy. So my clothes was always like sweatsuits and like Jordans, and it was always like I was very much dressing like a boy all the time. I couldn't dress like a girl, so I couldn't get my nails done, I couldn't get my hair done, like I couldn't do all that stuff because of my father's perception of girls and women. And so because of that perception, that is how when you say like on an intimate level, it wasn't like that, but it wasn't not like that. It wasn't like he had those expectations of my sister at all, but she also was not allowed to dress girly. He would always remind her and me that wearing sandals or lip gloss or whatever made you a hoe. So it's stuff like that, right? When I say he placed my sister in the wife position, it was when it came to arguing about things in the house, he would more publicly argue with my sister. Like they would duke it out than he would my mom. The responsibility of raising his child, me, he placed on my sister, not my mom. The responsibility of like making plans for the family, he placed those responsibility on my sister, not my mom. My mom would have to have whatever financial responsibility, but as far as like the responsibility of like arguing about stuff and raising the kids and like the kids being herself and me, he made my sister's job. So that's what that means for those who are curious. Um, being treated like a grown up and a kid at the same time when it's convenient for a parent. Yes, that's my sister's experienced that so much. I didn't start experiencing that until I was almost 30. And even then, I was like, y'all can't tell me nothing because y'all were not great parents, and I don't have to listen to you and blah blah whatever. How can your father say he doesn't remember abuse? You know what? A lot of parents do that. A lot of parents be like, that didn't happen. Like I didn't do that. That didn't happen. Like first of all, you cannot tell me you don't remember being terrible to me on a random Tuesday in your adulthood, but you remember getting smacked in the face by your mama in 1978. But you can't remember what happened to me in 2004. You can remember what happened when your mother put on Mahalia Jackson in 1964, but you can't remember what you did to me in 2007. What's the math on that? That don't even make sense. That don't make sense at all. Um, it's so hard to hear. Oh, like to listen to. I thought you were saying that you couldn't hear me. Last year, I remember you advocating for your father at an airline. Do you still all communicate? So at that time, I had made the big girl choice to be like, put it all to the side. My reason for that was y'all know that video that I have pinned on my page where I'm telling you that my sister did a really great thing for my parents? A part of that thing coming to fruition required my parents to fly to Georgia. My parents planned to move to Georgia. Go to my sister's TikTok. She talks about what she did for them and what like the thing that I'm alluding to. She talks about it. It's on her TikTok. A part of the steps in getting them to Georgia was that I had to help them get to Georgia. That required my mom physically cannot move my father around. So my father's very, very big. At the time, I think he was at 600 or so pounds, close to 700 pounds. So my mother could not do anything physically for him. She couldn't pick him up if she needed to. She couldn't do all that stuff. So I'm still this way where I'm like, ain't nobody else gonna do it. And I'm right here. So let me just help you with the thing. We don't even have to talk. We don't have to have a relationship, but I know that you need this thing done. So I'm gonna help you. Like pride aside, I don't even have too much pride to help my parents. It's just more of like being like, we don't even have that kind of relationship for you to take this as, oh, I'm doing a nice thing for you. I would do this for like any person. I am this kind and caring for people that are disabled in general. So like don't even take it as like I'm doing this for you. It's just like you're disabled, babe. Let how else you gonna get to where you need to go? So I helped my father in his wheelchair get down the stairs. I helped him get into my car. I drove him to the airport. I helped him get back into his wheelchair. I wheeled him through LAX because LAX literally, like, they didn't want any liability if anything happened because of his size. So I wheeled him through LAX. They had flights to Georgia on Spirit. Why they were flying Spirit, I do not know. My mother paid for him to have the larger seat that's at the front of the plane. We asked for seatbelt extenders so that he could be strapped in and all that, all the bells and whistles, right? She paid for it. The ticket was very expensive. I think both of their tickets together was like $2,300. Like, it was very expensive. Paid it. When they got to the airport though, and like I pushed them up to the gate, everybody's aware that he's getting on the plane. We've called the airline, we've called LAX. They're all fully aware that he's supposed to be on this flight to Georgia. They get him onto the plane. They switch him from his bariatric wheelchair to their wheelchair. They wheel him onto the plane. And then the flight attendants literally refuse to board him. They basically were like, nope. They made some excuse like, oh, we don't have seatbelt extenders, which every airline has seatbelt extenders. But yeah, so they were just like, nope, we don't want to. So as I'm walking to my car, I'm like, okay, they about to get on the plane. It's about to be album, whatever. I get a call from my mom and she's like, we're not going. And I'm like, what happened? And come to find out, they wouldn't board him. Like as soon as they saw him, they were like, no. So in spite of how terrible my father is and has been in life and my mother, if that happened to my father, it will happen to any overweight and disabled person. So that was my fight in being like, you can't do this to anyone. No, shouldn't do this to my parents, but like you shouldn't do this to anyone. That is a horrible thing to do to someone. Like you don't know the reasons people have to fly. You don't know people's circumstances. I know my father's circumstance, but you don't know his circumstance. You don't know if he has to get to on this plane for a surgery that could be life threatening. You don't know if he has to go to a funeral. You don't know. Like, how can you just deny someone and they paid for the ticket and it was like a whole big old mess? It was so stupid. But what was really great was what I did, because I was like, y'all gotta get the fuck out of here. I don't know. Y'all not coming back to this here condo. Y'all got to go. Um, I walked to every single airline at LAX to find out who would take him. I told them the situation, and Delta Airlines was the airline that was like, we got it. Don't even trip. And they were very accommodating. So shout out to Delta Airlines. They were very accommodating. They flew out like 2 or 3 days later. But yeah, and what was also really terrible that night is so there, the what are they called? The buses that like bus you from the airport to a hotel or whatever. Um, there were several buses that wouldn't stop. Like, because they have like the ramps that you just roll the wheelchair on and it'll take you to your hotel. So instead of my parents coming all the way back to my condo, the distance between the airport and my condo is like 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, depending on traffic. So instead of them coming all the way back here, they were just going to go to a hotel that was in like around the corner from LAX because there are shuttles that'll take you back and forth. So we were waiting on the sidewalk for a shuttle that he could get his wheelchair on and get him there. I want to say 6 shuttles slowed down, saw him, and drove away. People are can be so ableist and so fat phobic, and so that was why I was advocating for him in that way. But do we still communicate? No. Um, it does get better, but when you go to contact, the stress vanishes. Yes, and I want to hold space for people that are going no contact. You might have a panic, like you might feel a panic. I want to be realistic about what going no contact looked like for me. I don't want to make it seem like when I went no contact, it was all peachy keen. Nope. Holidays were horrible for me. I want to say 3 years of holidays were really hard for me. Mother's Day is still very hard for me. Father's Day, not so much, but Mother's Day is still very hard for me. Um, but other than that, like in those beginning years of no contact, and it took years. Christmas, because my birthday's in December. So Christmas time, I was a wreck. I was a wreck. There was one Christmas in particular. I think it was around my 30th birthday. That whole month, I was just a mess. I turned 30. Neither of my parents called me to wish me happy birthday. They didn't even care. And at this time, my sister and I were also a little bit on the outs. We're great now, as you can see. We chose each other and always choose each other. You know what I mean? And that means what it means. Like when you hit a crossroads with anything going on in your life and it's someone you care about, do you choose the person or do you choose your ego and your pride? And we choose each other over that all the time. So we have had no beef since we reconciled, right? So there was this one Christmas, and I think it was the year that I turned 30, where I'm with my fiance's family and I'm like emotional because yeah, during Christmas time we would be me and my family we would be together watching a Christmas Story, which is my favorite Christmas movie, and like just like having a great time or whatever. Right? It was never really about the gifts. It was just like us watching a Christmas Story because it used to be a marathon on TNT, and we'd watch it at least 2 times, and that was like Christmas time. So I was sad that I didn't get no call on my birthday. I was heartbroken about that. Sad that my sister's birthday came and went because her birthday is 9 days after mine in December. Came and went. She and I did talk. Bless you. And then Christmas came and I'm with my fiance's family and I can't stop crying because I missed my dad so much. And here's the thing. I miss I miss a person who did not exist. That's the kicker. I missed someone who never existed. I need you to realize that. I missed someone who he had never been, will never be, and is not. I missed someone who didn't exist, but I grieved the hope. I had hope. I don't know why. This is a part of being raised with like narcissistic people. I had hope. And so I cried, right? I'm crying the whole time. I pull myself together and I come out of the room, and his uncle hands me a gift. My fiance's uncle hands me a gift. They bought me multiple gifts this Christmas. They thought about me when my own parents did not. I bawled. I just went to the room and I just couldn't stop crying. I was a mess that Christmas, mind you. I had spent previous Christmases with these same family members and had not had these reactions, but this particular year was so hard for me. So when you go no contact with your parents or any family member, please give yourself the space to feel your feelings. Because could you imagine if I was holding myself to not being sad? Could you imagine if I was like, I'm not about to be, what am I, these tears, what am I crying for? You know what I mean? I would be doing myself a disservice if I had done that. So I just cried and I just allowed myself to be sad, and I was very sad for a while until I wasn't. So the stress does go away, but that doesn't mean that you won't have feelings of feeling lonely sometimes. And that's a normal feeling. Not having a relationship with your parents is abnormal. That's not a thing we should be experiencing. So if you're experiencing not having a relationship with your parents and you have to go no contact, feel your feelings, babe. Cry it out. Like it's okay. Um, so let me see where we at. Where we at? I only just found your profile, but I'm already loving your energy and positive. Ah, thanks, babe. I appreciate that. I'm with no contact for almost 3 years. Then last year, opened the door back out. It's time for a take two. Okay. I'm going to tell y'all, just like my fiance told me. Hi, cousin. My cousin's in here. My parents would break my heart over and over again. Before I went no contact, we kept getting into these like things, and they would break my heart. They kept breaking my heart. And I'd just be like, well, they're my parents, and these are the only parents I have. And I'm asking advice of elders. I'm not saying don't do it, but I was asking advice of elders, and they were giving me the wrong advice. And I realized, just like with that spiritual girlie that I mentioned earlier, you cannot ask advice from someone who has not healed. You can't. You can't ask advice from someone who hasn't done the emotional work, who is in touch with their feelings, like a human being. So you can't ask advice from those people. And they were leading me astray. Do you hear me? So um they kept breaking my heart, right? And my fiance told me, I will never keep you from having a relationship with your family. That's your family. But I will always be here to put you together when they break your heart. And when I say he was right, those people would destroy me. They would destroy me. I would leave here and I would cry all the way home to my fiance, and I would come into the house and I would fall into his arms and I'd be crying and I'd be like, why are they like this? Why are they treating me like this? Like, because I'd also gotten to the point of realizing that I didn't deserve to be treated badly, but I couldn't understand why they were treating me badly, and it didn't make any sense. And so I just kept crying. I was so sad. I was so hurt. I was so disappointed. And like my partner was always like, I got you. Like he clocked it immediately. But he could always see like they're not gonna do right by you, but that doesn't mean that I want you to never have a relationship with them, because they might surprise you one day. I don't think they'll surprise you, but they might. And so he always allowed me to have the space to break and put myself back together, and he'll put me together, and he'll cook for me, and he'll buy me roses, and he'll hold me, and he'll let me cry, he'll let me do nothing, he'll do all the things so I can do nothing. And I'm really blessed to have had that space and to continue to have that space, because if I didn't, I don't know what that would have looked like for me. I'm keeping it a buck. I'm keeping it a whole bean. I love you, cousin. Yes, no problem. Cousin, you already know. You already know. You already know. That's my cousin. Red Cane, that's my cousin. Look, you already know what I'm gonna say. You already know what I'm gonna say. We've had these conversations. Like our elders just like weren't okay at all. And like I'm not gonna spill too much tea, but like my mother wasn't a good sibling to her siblings. And when you have like my mom was the eldest sibling, right? And to a certain extent, the eldest sibling is parentified all the time. I'm not an eldest sibling, but I saw what my sister went through, and the eldest sibling was, is always parentified. However, there are also things that siblings should like have each other's back on. And I would say that's something that me and my sister always got right. We always had like, if we're gonna duke it out, we're gonna duke it out. The one time I didn't have my sister's back, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I know I'm super young, right? I was 7 or 8 years old, and my father left for the day to do something. I can't remember what it was. When he came back, he was upset, just like the cell phone story. He was upset that my sister hadn't gotten me ready. Like, why is her hair not done? Why is she not dressed? Blah, 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 blah. I told you to get her dressed and have her hair done by the time I get back. My sister's like, no, you didn't. Now, here's the thing. We had just recently moved in with my great grandfather, the great grandfather that my sister mentioned earlier. We had just moved in with him. We're living in this new house that's in Compton, and it was super dark. So I was always scared. I'm like, I very rarely slept. I was always scared. I'd be up for days. Everybody in the house would be sleeping. I would just be sitting in my bed watching the sun rise. I was terrified in this house all the time. This is when I used to grind my teeth. I used to grind my teeth so bad, I would break my teeth. I was so scared in this house all the time. On top of that, my father was at his, I won't say his worst because he was always terrible, but he was so nightmarish. I was always scared of him at this time. So he's yelling at her like, "Why you didn't have her hair ready?" Da, 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 da. And he looks at me and he goes, "Didn't I tell her to have you dressed and your hair done?" And the way that he's yelling at me, my father at this time is 6'2", 6'3". He's 450 pounds and he's looming over my 7-year-old body. And I just go, yeah. I just remember being so terrified. And he snatched my sister up and he whooped her and she didn't cry. And that pissed him off. But I will never forget how she looked at me like, and to this day, I have never not had her back. I felt worse about not having her back than anything. He tried to make her cry and she did not cry. She was just like, took it like a G. She didn't have to even deal with that. She didn't have to take that. To this day, I've never gone against her ever. I've always had her back, always, 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 always. That was the first, only, and last time I'd ever done something like that to my sister because I was so scared of him that I didn't have her back in that moment. So going back to like sibling duties, siblings, you have to have your siblings back. And my mother, being the eldest sibling, has never, I would say after the age of like 16, she stopped having her siblings back and she abandoned her siblings. And there are repercussions for that that have rippled out into the family. That's what I will say. Because the same thing happened on my dad's side. My father not being there for his siblings had a ripple effect. And yeah, I love you, cousin. If you're still in here, just know that you can always call me. You can always call me. But yeah, so narcissistic parents, um, it takes time to heal from them. Narcissism warps your perception of reality. If you trust that person and they are a narcissist and they're not honest, it warps your perception of reality. So if you are a person who survived a narcissistic parent or parents, um, you likely struggle with how you navigate your day and how you navigate your today. Um, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you have to be so accountable within yourself that you're not easily manipulated by other people. Because that's really what it boils down to is narcissists are manipulative. Like with the Risa Tisa story, right? I don't think that she was going to give too much time to continue to be manipulated by this person. I think that she had enough self-awareness to go, that's not right. That's wrong. That don't sound right. Um and kudos to her for getting to the bag because she just fully deserves that for all of that. But people like Legion have kids. People like Legion end up in relationships with people that validate their lies and their fallacies. And that's scary. Like, if you really think about it, that's terrifying. The amount of people who are just like Legion who end up in long term marriages. My father, my mother, and my father got together at like 16, 17. They've been together this entire time. No shade to anybody who's been married or in a relationship with someone since they were 16 or 17, but you don't even know anything about yourself. You don't know anything about anything, but you especially don't know anything about yourself at 16. What do you know at 16? Like, I remember having a conversation with a parent, and she was like saying something about her child and like how her child made a grown up decision or whatever. Like, that's their decision. They made that choice. Blah 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 blah. And I remember being like, "Do you remember being 16?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Did you know anything at 16? Like, did you know?" Hold on, TikTok is tripping. I'm like, "Do you remember us being 16?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "And do you remember knowing anything at 16?" She was like, "No," and like kind of chuckled about it. And I'm like, "So why do you think your 16-year-old is making cognitive choices and they don't even have a fully developed frontal lobe? You didn't even have a fully developed frontal lobe when you had your first child. What are we even talking about here?" And that's how like the abusive cycle kind of continues is you have parents who have kids young and expect their child to know more than they know. And I'm going to clear this up. They expect their child to know more than what they as a parent knows, while also like experiencing their child as not knowing shit. So they'll be like, "You don't know what the you talking about." You're right. No 16-year-old really has any idea what the hell they're talking about. But neither do you, and neither did you at 16. So, like, that's remember I was talking about that warped perception? That's a way in which narcissists will warp your perception. They, as a parent, treat you like you should know better. And then at every single chance, tell you you don't know shit. What kind of logic is that? It's not logic. It's no logic. Narcissistic people are not predictable. Narcissistic parents, especially, are not predictable. I'm gonna keep rocking with y'all here on TikTok, but let me close out this YouTube. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all a lot. Bye 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 bye.